Okay, so it would be natural for you to think about what kind of data are you getting in these two inputs, right? And there's different ways in HTML to actually account for that. But we're just going to write a very simple input for now. And as we grow in our knowledge, we'll figure out other ways, like we could use drop downs. I mean, there's just tons of other ways we could make sure we get good user input. But for now, here's how you could do this. Is I would come over here where I had last name. I'd copy that, and right underneath, I think if I do it here, yeah. And what I did is I backed up there so it just lined up perfectly. And I would say number of members of your home. Okay. It is required. Now here's where we could say, instead of number, right, instead of text, we could say number. Now there's a little caveat with that. I'll show you in a little while. Okay. And now here's our JavaScript value we saw before, right, for how we would grab that. House M is what I'm going to call it. Okay. So let's see, is there anything else? It is required. So I'm going to copy that. Okay. I'm going to go down to the, actually here. And there's a shortcut for that. Okay. And then I would say number of members. Is it members of your? Because it could be just one. Okay. Of your home. Number. That doesn't make sense. How about number of people? How many in your house? How many? How many? I should go back and look at what they said. How many people in your house? Number of people? I don't know. Naming is hard. Okay, so the second one, I can still keep it that, right? So now this would be size. What is the size of your house? Now, this one is not going to be a number, right? So we'd put it back to text. And in this case, house size. Okay? So now, adding these two values, right, is what we would, let's go look at it and look at our output. Okay, so what I'd want to do here is make my page a little bigger. That looks okay. There's a lot of styling we could do to this, right? I'll probably get rid of those. Okay. So now, notice what happens here just by putting number in there. Okay. And notice that doesn't happen here. So just adding this type number does help us get the user to give us good data. Okay, that would be a thing. And then this one, because it's whatever, it's going to come in. And this is where you start to understand what actually the data types are here. Okay. So now let's go over and code. Okay. So now we're moving beyond the challenge. Now we're going to start talking about how do we grab those other values, right? So I could say const house members equals to what? Form dot member house m dot value. Then const, right? House size equal to form dot house s dot value. Now, if you don't remember where I got them, because we just did it, is these values here. Okay. Okay, so that gives us those values. Now, let's make sure, right? Let's make sure it gives us those values. I'm going to hit a breakpoint here. I'm just going to give it some random data. Not 23. How about, right? So we've already seen this one. This one's not a surprise. Step in. Okay, good. By the way, what do we know about that type of data? It's a string value. And by the way, if you don't remember, right? Type, what is it? Type of, right? And then you could say for, I think you can, yeah, and it'll just tell you right on the console. Okay. So we know these are type of. Now, this one, we would think would be number. But that's where JavaScript drives people crazy, because JavaScript and just writing some of this, okay? It's a string. Even though we told it it's a number, all this does, and it's a good thing, is helps us make the user give us better data, but it doesn't change the type of, and that's something we need to do in our code, okay? So all of these things, right, are string data. So we have to think about that, because there's various ways we could change this, and we'll do that in the next one. But for now, right, so add those lines to your code, and then I'll have you do one more commit. But the next one, the next challenge for you, and I will be beginning in the next set, is where I actually have you try to, or think about how you would use these values, right? How would we use these values? And I know I haven't gone over how to change these, because we need them to be numbers. So I just want you to see if you can write some code, right? That, how would we do this? So attempt it. This is just to see, because now that we have these values, right? Again, we no longer need to do it here. We have the data. So how do we now run that start function with what we have? So that's going to be your challenge, right? So I've already set up the challenge for the next one. This is going to end this one on forms, and the next one we'll pick up with a code challenge.